You're welcome to Joy News Prime here on Joy News on Multi TV, your certified election headquarters, bringing you comprehensive coverage of all election-related issues with some 53 days to the December polls. Tonight, Progressive People's Party sues the Electoral Commission and its chairperson, Charlotte Osei, over the disqualification of its flag bearer in the first of a barrage of legal actions expected to hit the Commission in the coming days. The two front-runners in the elections this December have meanwhile focused their campaigns in the Greater Accra region. We'll bring you a wrap of their activities. Running mates of MPP flag bearer Dr. Mamadou Bawumia takes another jab at President Mahama in what appears to be an unending exchange of words between the two. We've catalogued a few of the exchanges.
And coming up in business, Securities and Exchange Commission developing guidelines to promote investment clubs in the country to help improve the performance of the stock exchange and drive growth of the Ghana Stock Exchange. But also in the bulletin, the world is wondering what's happening in the home of Nigeria's first family after President Buhari issued this response to an interview granted by his wife to the BBC.
The kitchen and my living room and the other room. I hope my wife will remember that I was in the field for 12 years. I tried 3 times. The first time I managed to succeed, and I ended up the first 3 times.
Right, so you'd have to stay tuned to hear what the wife said in that interview. My name is Electoral, and Joy News Prime is also available across Europe on ABN television as well as on DSTV and GoTV. Stay tuned. Now, the very first story, the Progressive People's Party seeking an order from the court to prohibit the Electoral Commission from proceeding with the balloting for positions on the ballot paper for the 4 presidential candidates certified to take part in the elections this December. The team, led by former Attorney General Ayikwe Otu, is also asking the court to quash the disqualification of the flag bearer of the PPP, Dr. Papakwesi Indom, and reinstate him as one of the candidates for the 2016 election. In a suit filed on Friday, the party stated emphatically the Electoral Commission did not only breach the rules of natural justice in its disqualification of Dr. Indom, but also failed to live within the requirements imposed on it by the law. I'll be joined in a bit by my Joy Online editor Malik Dabu to take us through the details of the suit. But the Progressive People's Party earlier in the day called a news conference at which it accused the Electoral Commission of committing administrative errors in breaching laws similar to that for which it decided to disqualify the party's flag bearer from participating in this year's polls. PPP policy advisor Kofi Asamoah, who addressed a news conference, insisted the EC is applying the laws of the country in a selective manner.
Some of the candidates had not declared their assets, and yet they went ahead to swear an oath before a judge, a notary public, or a commissioner of oath that they have done so. In fact, some of them rejected this requirement publicly. While we all know that lying under oath is a criminal offense under the laws of Ghana, and the punishment is a maximum of 10 years imprisonment, Mr. Amadou Sule issued a circular to all political parties on sanctions for non-compliance with the Political Parties Law Act 574, with emphasis on the submission of audited accounts. In that letter dated 5th April 2016, Mr. Amadou Sule, incidentally the Deputy Chair of the Electoral Commission, made it abundantly clear that, quote, all political parties should ensure that the requested information is received by the Commission by the close of work on 31st May 2016, failing which sanctions will be applied in accordance with law. The only sanction if you don't apply with this requirement to submit political parties audited account of your political party is for the commission to deregister you or take your name from the register of the political parties list. As we speak, that was not done. The PPP, the Progressive People's Party, complied fully with this directive from the Electoral Commission, while other political parties disregarded it. What is shocking in this case is that as of today, the EC has failed to enforce the sanctions they promised. The double standard of the EC in this matter is mind-boggling.
Right, now the flag bearer of the Progressive People's Party, Dr. Papakwesi Ndum, had stated yesterday that he was going to fight on. He vowed to fight on, and indeed the news we're getting that the suit has been filed is just a confirmation of the fact that he intends to take this as far as possible. I've been joined on right here in the studio by Major Line Editor Malik Dabo, who is also with the political desk here at Joy News Your Election Headquarters. Good evening to you, Malik, and thank you for joining us. You always bring insightful or insights.
Nice shirt. I should steal this one.
And I should steal this one too. All right, so let's get on to it. What are the other reliefs being sought by the PPP?
The lawyers for Papakwesi Ndum are simply asking for an order of certiorari. That's what the lawyers call it. An order of certiorari is simply to say, you have taken an administrative decision. We want the court to quash that decision, i.e., restore the person to the position before that decision was taken. That the decision was not taken at all. That is, reverse it and reinstate Papakwesi Ndum as a presidential candidate of the PPP who is qualified to run in this election.
Right.
Basically, that's what they are asking for. And we know what the issues are, first of all. We know that.
But in addition to that, they're also seeking to stop the balloting.
Yes, you know that the spokesperson for the EC yesterday, Eric Japasus, told us that as far as the EC was concerned, the process was done and dusted. And to that extent, the next step was to ballot for positioning on the ballot paper, i.e. who is going to be first, second, third, and fourth. There are four people, President John Mahama Nana Akufo-Addo, Ivor Greenstreet, and then Jacob Asseya. But these four people were the persons that were cleared by the EC to contest in the elections. And if what Eric told us is anything to go by, the EC would conduct a balloting to determine who will be placed where on the ballot paper. And then afterwards, they will print the ballot papers and the process will continue. What they want to do is to stop this process from happening so that if later the court grants their order of certiorari, they would not, the ballot papers wouldn't have been printed. So they are first asking, stop that process in the first place so that the EC does not go ahead with this balloting. Then you grant us the order and then you will squash the decision that they have taken and then reinstate him and any other orders that you may deem fit.
All right. So we expect, I mean, we saw this coming. I mean, the PPP had won. We also know that the NDP is waiting in the wings to also probably also bring their suit. We're expecting a number of these things to come.
Yes. Because Nana Kunedo Ajman-Rawlings, who is the presidential candidate of the National Democratic Party, indicated, they wrote a letter. Yesterday, we had a response from Tadia Sori, who is lawyer for the Electoral Commission, saying that as far as they are concerned, the disqualification of Nana Kunedo was lawful. Remember that one of the arguments that they are making, and if you read this, Aikwe Otu's written, Aikwe Otu is a lawyer for Papakwesi Ndum. If you read it, one of the grounds upon which they are filing this case is that the EC acted outside its own rules. Regulation 9 of CI 94. CI 94 is a constitutional instrument that is governing this year's election. Regulation 9 says if there are any problems, the EC may invite them to look at those ones and to deal with them. Their argument is that the EC has an obligation under this regulation to have invited them and alerted them that, look, you have had this problem, this Richard Asida guy, endorse your forms in the Central region and in the Volta region. That invalidates your nomination. Therefore, deal with it. of course, we know that John Ndebuguri, who is also a lawyer, was in Parliament representing the Zebila constituency in the Upper East region. He argues that, look, when the regulation says that people should be invited to look at issues, it is dealing with clerical errors, not a fundamental mistake as this one.
Right.
If, for example, somebody misspelled a name or a contact number was wrongly written, the EC under Regulation 9 would invite the person to deal with that. But something as fundamental as getting one person to endorse in two different districts, when the law says get two persons from each district to endorse your nomination, in his view, that's so fundamental that the EC could not. The EC would have been acting outside the law, he argues, if it invited Papa Kwesi Ndum to come and correct this. So let's see how it goes. Yeah. These are legal arguments. The lawyers, Aikotu and Esankuma for NDP, Nana Konedu, will argue their case. Let's see what the court says.
One other interesting issue that's come up is the fact that we have Aikotu, a former Attorney General, and an MPP stalwart. He's actually in the camp of the PPP. Now, he may just be a regular lawyer, just being professional, but considering where he's coming from as far as the MPP is concerned, and the MPP not having taken a position on this presents an interesting situation.
Well, it does, but you see, when it comes to the practice of law, there's no MPP NDC lawyer. Of course, we know that they tend to. We know when Rawlings had an issue, he took Atachia as lawyer.
Oh, yeah.
And you would have a number of people in the NDC who will handle cases because when it comes to legal practice, and the law actually prohibits you from refusing to take a person's case purely on the basis of politics or religion or creed or caste or any other such differences. So there's no problem at all, of course, for us analysts. When you look at it, you are curious as to why is Aiko to the one who is and quite recently, he was the chairman of the legal council for the legal committee of the MPP, the constitutional legal committee of the MPP. And if that person is now handling a case for the PPP, you may raise questions. But practically, it doesn't raise any questions at all. It shouldn't raise any questions at all.
Right. Thank you very much, Malik Dabu, for bringing us your insights, as always. We're taking a break on Joy News Prime, but we have more stories coming up. The banter between the president and Dr. Mamadou Bawumia. It's all coming up here on your election headquarters. Stay tuned. Welcome back to Joy News Prime. Now, the Greater Accra region appears to be emerging as the battleground for this year's presidential election. Judging by the way the two front-runners, Nana Akufo-Addo and President John Mahama, are focusing their attention on the region. The two have in the last few days been crisscrossing the region with their campaign messages in a bid to win over the electorate. Joy News' Latif Idris in the following report brings us a wrap on the campaign of the MPP flag bearer, Nana Akufo-Addo, in the Greater Accra region this week.
The opposition New Patriotic Party kicked off the week with a manifesto launch and a mammoth rally at the Trade Fair Center in Accra. Then on Tuesday, Nana Akufo-Addo took his campaign to an area he described as his own backyard, the Ayawaso East constituency. We have programs and policies for Ghanaians, particularly the Zongos. Under a Nanado-led administration, we are going to establish the Zongo Development Fund, which will solely concentrate on developing the Zongos across the country. Nana Akufo-Addo and the New Patriotic Party on Wednesday took the party's manifesto policy, especially on industry and job creation, to the Association of Ghana Industries for further explanation and clarification from members of the association.
Malaysia is still on 35%. I know you always celebrate Ivory Coast, but Ivory Coast has equity laws. You don't just walk to Ivory Coast and you take 100% of the economy and you walk away from it. No, it doesn't happen. Nigeria, it didn't happen, doesn't happen. So why are we going for all these breaks that we have in both all the sides, where we cannot conglomerate them to have one basic fact sorted out in this country so that we can all prosper for our next generation to continue. So I think that I read the manifesto and I listened to you last night. I think that let us go back to the fundamentals. From there, you have the lawyers. You go to court, it has any laws. And any laws. I'm in court. There are no laws. Everybody. We don't have laws that protect industry or industrialists or entrepreneurs in this country. So please, let us go back and look and see how we can factor this in. It's not late.
The New Patriotic Party rounded up campaign activities in the week at the Anyanso constituency. The parliamentary candidate for the New Patriotic Party and the incumbent MP of this constituency, Shirley Ayokoboche, has also been making references to the issue of unemployment in this country as of now. She called on the student body to vote massively for the flag bearer of the New Patriotic Party. And the response of the people has been massive, right from Tabora Junction to Alaji to the University of Pentecost campus. The response of the electors in this constituency has been massive.
Every year since John Dramani Mahama became president, our economy has shrunk. Every year, and this year we are going to have the slowest rate of growth of our economy for 22 years. What it means is that your ability to walk out of here and get a job is being compromised right now. What I'm trying to leave with you is that 4 more years of John Dramani Mahama will mean that you have no future to go back to.
The campaign trail of the New Patriotic Party moves to its stronghold, the Ashanti region, from next Wednesday.
From the MPP, we move to the camp of the governing NDC, whose flag bearer, John Mahama, also spent a greater part of the week in the capital, reaching out to the electorate and urging them to make him their choice. Joy News' Joseph Akable, who has been following the president on the campaign trail, report the president resumed his campaign tour of the Greater Accra region from the Kaneshi market with a promise to renovate markets across the country.
We have added a drain from Kwale to our project. This will ensure that water flows freely from Kaneshi. From Kaneshi, the president headed to Atiko, which falls within the Okaikwe South constituency, to introduce NDC parliamentary candidate Alexander Ekwako to the electorate. The president touted his achievements in infrastructure, arguing that contrary to claims by the opposition that he was wasting resources, jobs were being created. If you provide infrastructure, it is a way of creating jobs. Even in the US, Hillary Clinton is promising to invest $250 billion into infrastructure. This is because it creates jobs. If you don't build schools, where will trained teachers teach? The president's activities for the day ended at the Fadama Park, where he addressed a mammoth rally. He assured the electorate he remains committed to solving challenges facing the country.
Zongos and the inner cities, the places where we have poverty, we're going to assist them with all the social protection programs government has.
On Thursday, the focus was on the Abeka and Malamata markets. He then addressed supporters at the Kotobabi Park, where he took a swipe at the opposition NPP. President Mahama charged the electorates to ignore promises by the opposition party that they will put money in their pockets if voted into power. What they often say is that they ask people whether they have money in their pockets. Like I said yesterday, no president will ask citizens to kill, so he distributes money to them. If you get money, you need to work. Like I said yesterday, all government can do is to provide schools to ensure that people will be equipped with skills to enable them work and earn money.
And they say, I buy every schools, school. I buy every vocational school, technical schools, skills development fund. Send your mabunu every Timia almost no normal year, almost media year Juma, and Yasika Asho.
The president's campaign activities for the week ended on Thursday evening when he addressed students of the University of Ghana, promising to empower the private sector to create more jobs for the youth.
Government's first responsibility in job creation is to create a stable economic environment so that the private sector can grow. That's one. Then government's second responsibility is to make sure that our young people are coming out with the right skills for the world of work. Increasingly, our country has continued to change. And so, our country is demanding a new set of skills. And so, we need to guide our young people to look at the job market when choosing what course to do in any institution. Because there are some areas where there's a saturation. There's a saturation, we've overproduced. And so, if you do that same course where there's a saturation, your possibility of getting a job is slimmer.
Right, you're watching Joy News Prime, and we have more coming up for you as far as politics is concerned, but also coming up in the bulletin, there's some good news and there's not so good news. GOSPA, which is the Government and Hospital Pharmacists Association, has called off or has suspended this nationwide strike, but then the Judicial Services Staff Association of Ghana is planning to embark on a strike. That's from next week. But also in the bulletin, more good news. A 20-year-old girl who took advantage of the BEC resit examination. We have her story coming up later on in the bulletin. Right after the break, though, we'll bring you business news. Right, so thanks to the business team for bringing us the business news. Now, exactly a week today, activities at the various courts in the country could come to a halt following a decision by the Judicial Services Staff Association of Ghana to go on strike. JUSAC says it is compelled to take this decision because President John Mahama has refused to sign for the release of the funds needed to cover allowances for clothing, rents, and some other needs of the staff. President of the group, Alex Nate, tells Joy News the association has since June 2015 been waiting for the president to fulfill his part of the agreement reached to pay its members consolidated salaries.
We have for almost 2 years now been expecting the president to play his role in respect of the conditions of service of the judicial service without any results. And the Judicial Service Staff Association of Ghana and our rank and file have diagnosed the issue, and we are of the view that we have to issue this notice to require the authorities to take action.
When you say you have spoken about this issue for long, how long has it been?
It has been very, very long.
Since when specifically?
As far back as June 2015, this JUSAC had fully engaged the Judicial Council, and the Judicial Council had issued a recommendation recommending the consolidated salaries to the President for approval.
Meanwhile, the Government and Hospital Pharmacists Association, GOSPA, has suspended its nationwide strike. The pharmacists have been protesting for the last 4 months over government's failure to address discrepancies in their market premium payment. The decision to call off the strike follows an emergency delegates meeting. Raymond Tete, the former chairman of GOSPA, spoke earlier to Joy News.
It was some agreement at a general meeting by delegates representing pharmacists nationwide.
Has government met your request?
Well, we had a series of meetings with the Minister for Labour, and an MOU was signed to that effect that our issues be considered.
So what happens next? Before that, did government tell you or did the MOU tell you when your demands will be met?
Yes, they said somewhere in January next year. We should look towards something like that. But of course, that is not the best. But we are also aware that our patients need our services.
So let me find out from you, Mr. Tete, was it a compromise decision? Because you were talking about discrepancies in your market premium. What exactly was agreed in the MOU?
Well, as part of the negotiation process, we were informed that if we remain on strike, then it will be difficult for the engagement process to continue.
Finance Minister said Tekwe will next Thursday seek the approval of Parliament to allocate money for government expenditure in the first quarter of next year. He will also use the occasion to present estimates of revenue and expenditure of government for the 2017 financial year.
The 1992 Constitution provides for 3 months expenditure for approval by Parliament in an election year. This is to afford the incoming administration resources to govern the nation whilst it prepares for its budget. Presenting the business statement for next week, Deputy Majority Leader Alfred Kwame Agbeshi said the House will have to consider and approve the expenditure before rising on October 29.
On Thursday, 20th October 2016, the expenditure in advance of appropriation in January to March 2017, as well as the estimates of the revenue and expenditure of the government of Ghana for 2017 financial year. Honorable Speaker, in accordance with Standing Orders 162 and subject to Standing Order 53, the committee submits to this House the order in which the business of the House shall be taken during the week. Honorable Speaker, members are accordingly informed to participate in this symposium being organized today at 1:30 p.m. at the Auditorium Job 600 block in the memorandum in commemoration of the 10th anniversary of the demise of Justice D.F. Annan, first Speaker of the First and Second Parliament. of the Fourth Republic.
Meanwhile, low attendance in Parliament by MPs is hampering smooth consideration of business. Majority of members of Parliament are in their constituencies campaigning ahead of the December 7 general elections. Minority Leader Oseiche Mensah Bonsu wants the House to devise strategies to deal with the problem.
In the period of the anchor leg, we will have to intensify our activities to unseat this administration. And we intend to do that. Because we believe that Ghanaians certainly cannot afford to live under such a system again. But having said so, Mr. Speaker, I think it's imperative that we do a better structuring of the attendance. And before the majority that came in, the plan was made that we should have a joint caucus meeting. And the deputy majority that was indicating that it could hold maybe on Thursday. Perhaps we better bring it forward to about Tuesday, just to improve on this. Because certainly the people must be here to attend the joint caucus. That's what I'm saying. If the signal is sent, yes. If the signal is sent today, then maybe Tuesday we can have that. Otherwise, if you should go to Thursday, it continues. Half the time, half the duration would have expired. Because
a 20-year-old woman who took advantage of the BC Receipt examination instituted by the Ministry of Education has pulled up brilliant grades that has earned her dream of attending one of the first-class schools in Cape Coast. Abigail Amankwa, who wrote the BC in 2015 but performed abysmally, defied the odds and accepted the challenge to rewrite in 2016. She secured grade 1 in every subject in the just ended BEC, but had to stay at home because there was no one to sponsor her to go to school. Richard Kudunyako's report.
20-year-old Abigail Amankwa was one of the many BC graduates who took advantage of the introduction of the reset window to take the exams this year, hoping for improved results. According to her, her bad grades almost shut her dreams of becoming a medical doctor. Abigail, who hails from a poor home, decided not to enroll in any of the schools last year because that would have meant she was not going to get near her dream pursuing a science program. Abigail persevered and self-taught herself to rewrite the examinations this year, and the result was amazing. She secured 1 in every subject. After clearing the BEC hurdle, she was worried about who will sponsor her education at the secondary level.
I completed JHS before, but the results I was looking for, I didn't get. I had 10 by then. So my vision and my aim is to become a medical doctor one day, and also to attend Wesley Girls. So since that grade could not take me to Wesley Girls, I decided to study on my own. Unfortunately for me too, I heard that the minister, Nana Debuba, had introduced BC private. Then I took the opportunity, I went to register and wrote it at Judicial College. Then I had 8-1 because I did not write French.
The Central Regional Minister has meanwhile agreed to give her a full scholarship.
About 400 school fees and books that people have, brought to me as we have just started academic year. And I'm making efforts to meet them halfway in terms of supporting all these children. And then there are kids who come with brilliant results, but are from a very poor background and don't have the means to be able to, go to the schools that they have, attend those results.
Well, related to education, we have a story coming up on World Egg Day and what the egg has to do or does for the human brain. We're taking a break though, but we'll bring you international news right now.